Hey everybody, welcome back to part 2 of our review. We are on question 4. Question 4 says, choose yes or no to tell if the number 7.15 or 7 and 1500ths will make each equation true. So in every one of these boxes, we are going to plug in 7 and 1500ths. So I might go down here and say, hey, this is going to be A, and let's do the math. 4 and 90 500ths plus 7 and 1500ths, and I'm just going to add those two together and see what I get. 5 and 5 is 10, 9 and 1 is 10, plus 1 is 11, 7 and 1 is 8, and 4 is 12, decimal, 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 and I have 12 and 1000ths. Which, is that equal to 12 and 1/10? Well, it actually is, and we know that because we can drop the 0 off. So I would choose yes for that one. Let's go and do B. B says 10 and 8200ths minus, we're going to plug in 7 and 1500ths, 7 and 1500ths, and let's just see what we get. 2 minus 5 I cannot do, so I have to borrow. I borrow from my 8 and make it a 7. This then becomes 12, and I do 12 minus 5 is 7. And right away I can look at this and say, well, there's a 7 here and a 7 here. Let's keep going. 7 minus 1 is 6, decimal. And 10 minus 7 is 3. I get 3 and 6700ths. This is 3 and 7700ths, so that is definitely a no. They do not equal the same. We can go to B now, or not B. My bad. Let's go to C. That's a horrible C. No, I don't want that. Let's go to question C. There we go. 8 and 4700ths plus 7 and 1500ths, and we're going to add those together. 5 and 7 is 12. 4 and 1 is 5, and 1 is 6. And I look at this and I get 6200ths, and I have 5200ths, so that again is not going to be equal. Now, should I probably work these all out? Yes, I probably should, and I think if Mrs. Schaefer were here, which I think she is, she would probably say, go ahead and make sure that we add all of this together, which would probably be a good idea. So 8 and 7 is 15. So 15 and 6200ths is not the same as 15 and 5200ths. And let's go ahead and do 4D. And D, I probably want to circle that too. D, I have 9 and 1400ths minus, that's a horrible looking 4. 9 and 1400ths minus 7 and 1500ths. And we want to subtract. I can't subtract 4 minus 5, so I have to borrow. That becomes 14. 14 minus 5 is 9. I cannot subtract 0 minus 1, so I have to borrow. Make that an 8. Make that a 10. 10 minus 1 is 9. Decimal, decimal, decimal. 8 minus 7 is 1. And looky here, I get 1 and 1, 9900ths. 1 and 9900ths. So I'm going to choose yes. So again, the biggest thing here, guys, is you have to do the work. You can't just forego it. You have to actually do it. So let's go over to question 5. Question 5 is kind of a neat one. It says Lawrence spent $1.89 on a bottle of paint and 45 cents on a paintbrush. What is the total amount he spent? Use the model to help you. Well, we're going to go ahead and use the model, and then we'll do the math. So each of these little squares is 100th, or 1 cent. And since we have 100 of them here, that's 1 whole, or $1. And here is another whole, or $1. This is 10 cents, 20 cents, 30 cents. And again, I'm counting all the way down. So 10, 20, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34. So it should be $2.34. Let's go do the math just to double check. 1 and 89 hundredths plus 45 hundredths. I add 5 and 9 is 14. 8 and 1 is 9. 9 and 4 is 13. Decimal, decimal, decimal. 1 and 1 is 2. I have $2.34. That is awesome. Explain how the model helps you find the sum. So what we're looking for here, and I'm not going to write this down, but you guys can. The number of full grids, so these two full grids right here, show us the dollars. So this is $1 and this is one whole dollar. So the number of full grids show us the dollars. The number of small squares shaded in the third grid, that's these red ones right here, represents the cents. So we have dollars and we have 34 cents. $2.34. Let's move on. You can pause this again if you want to so you can go over it. But let's move on. We're going to go ahead and skip this one. You guys probably can do this on your own. All you're going to do is just do each of these 4 problems and connect them with each of the 4 answers. So you want to make sure you're doing the math, you're lining up your decimals, you're bringing them down. But we're going to skip that one. Okay, Ed is training for a race. He ran 12 and 56 hundredths miles one day, 12 and 56 hundredths miles one day, and he ran 12 and 98 hundredths miles the next day. 12 and 98 hundredths miles the next day. Part A, what is the combined? What does combined mean? Combined, that word right there, means to add. So we are going to add all of those numbers up. 6 and 8 is 14. 9 and 1 is 10, plus 1 is 15. I bring my decimal down. 2 and 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. And 1 and 2 is, or 1 and 1 is 2. So I have 25 and 54 hundredths miles. 25 and 54 hundredths miles. How much farther did he run the second day than the first? Farther. How much farther? Whoop. Please ignore that message because that is from yesterday, which is today, which is kind of confusing. Here we go. How much further? So we want to subtract the bigger number, 12 and 98 hundredths, minus the smaller number, 12 and 56 hundredths. Let's do some subtraction here. 8 minus 6 is 2. 9 minus 5 is 4. 2 minus 2 is 0. 1 minus 1 is 0. We should have 0 and 42 hundredths miles. And again, guys, you just want to make sure on your paper you're showing all of this work. Because if you show your work, you're good to go. We're going to look at question number 8. Question number 8 says the Thomas Jefferson Memorial is on 18 and 3600 acres. I'm going to write that down, 18 and 36 hundredths. The Delano Roosevelt, I feel like that's spelled wrong. The Delano Roosevelt Memorial is on 7 and 5 hundredths acres. How many more acres is the Jefferson Memorial than the Roosevelt Memorial? How many more tells me that I need to subtract. So I'm going to subtract these. And when I do that, I want to put a placeholder right here. So I line up my decimals, bring it down to my answer. 6 minus 0 is 6. 3 minus 5 I can't do, so we got to borrow. Make that a 7. Make this a 13. 13 minus 5 is 8. 7 minus 7 is 0. 1 minus nothing is 1. I'm looking for 10 and 86/100 acres. Awesome. Question number 9. A box weighs 23 7/10 pounds. Another box weighs 6 91/100 pounds. What is the combined weight? Combined weight means we are adding. So let's go ahead and do the math first, and then we'll get to this whole draw and label a model. So we're going to do our math. We're going to do 23 7/10 plus 6 91/100. Because I have an empty space up there, I want to add a 0. And let's do the adding. 0 and 1 is 1. 7 and 9 is 16, 17? No, 16. Hello. 16. Thank you. 6 and 3 is 9, and 1 is 10. Oh, wait a second. Yeah, we're adding. And 2 and 1 is 3. So we should be at 30 and 61/100, which we are, 30 and 61/100. Now we do our model. So in our model, this is where you draw those bars, and I have one bar, a rather large one, that represents the larger of the two numbers, 23 and 70/100. I'm going to add to it a smaller bar, which represents the 6 and 91/100. And then I look up here and I say, all right, if I were to add those two from here to here is going to be our 30 and 61/100. And again, that's 30 and 61/100 miles. And we're going to do our last question, which is kind of a big, whoa, sorry about that. Kind of a big one. Cassandra has a rectangular patio in her backyard. The patio is 27.74 meters long and 5.4 meters wide. So here's how long it is, here's how wide it is. Round the length and width to the nearest whole number. So we are going to round, this is going to be part A, we are going to round 12.74 and 5.45 to the nearest whole number. That's the ones place. 12.74. That 7 tells me to kick that up to 13. And that 4 tells me to keep that a 5. Then estimate the perimeter. So I know the perimeter is the distance all the way around our object. So if we were to walk all the way around this rectangle, we're going to walk about 13, about 5, about 13 more, and about 5. A couple of ways we can do this. We can do 13 plus 13 plus 5 plus 5. We want to add up all the sides. 3 and 3 is 6. 5 and 5 is 10. 10 and 6 is 16. 1, 2, 3. So we're looking at roughly 36 as our answer. So again, our work goes with our answer. Part B, round the length and width to the nearest tenth. So now we rounded here to the nearest whole number. We're going to do the same problem. I'll do it in a different color. 12 and 74/100. Whoops. And 5 and 45/100. Now we're rounding to the tenths place. Arrow over, arrow over. 12 and 74/100 rounds to 12 and 7/10. 5 and 45/100 rounds to 5 and 6/10. And now we want to add. But again, because we're going all the way around, 12 and 7/10, 5 and 6/10, 12 and 7/10, 5 and 6/10. I'm going to pause this because I'm out of time.